Good evening and welcome to a slightly delayed episode 2, season 2 of hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel, once again presented by thejeopardyfan.com. I am Andy Saunders and I will be moderating tonight. So, hopefully my internet will work better this time. Hopefully my, hopefully that will work better. We have a panel of 6 tonight, myself included, so my first introduction will be the founder of thejeopardyfan.com, Jeanie Kenkel.
Hi.
So I hear you've moved into the new apartment. How is it?
Yes, it's nice. It's still far from ready for anything, but everything's in there at least.
Let me guess.
Like
IKEA trip to try to get some stuff for the apartment.
Yes, and it was fruitful.
Okay, good. So, the rest of our panel, we have, once again, from Winnipeg, Manitoba, David Kendall joining us once again. Also returning to our panel, eight-time champion?
9.
9.
Who's counting?
Okay. 9-time champion, Jason Keller.
Yay!
Also,
I'm still top 5, remember that.
Yes. And finally, from this past week's episodes, challenger on Monday, losing by a small amount of money.
$53.
$53. Gordon Reid. Currently in Texas. Currently in Texas, formerly of Winnipeg.
My family and my friends consistently remind me of the $53 amount. That is going to be tattooed on my body and inscribed on my headstone when I'm dead. $53.
Yeah. And the person.
I was like, you couldn't have caught me anyway.
Yeah.
Unless you got it wrong.
Unless I got it wrong.
Yeah. Exactly. The person who beat Gord by $53. Also a Nebraskan, Natalie Lips. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us, and also, first up, congratulations to you, Natalie, on your wins. By the way, for those of you who are curious, you're always welcome to join in by using the hashtag Jeopardy Live Panel on Twitter. That way I can, and if I find your tweet appropriate, I will very likely read it out to the, on the panel. So do keep that in mind. As promised, though, I said I was going to... I was going to announce the results of the tournament of panelists. The fan voting closed 15 minutes ago, and let's see. Let's try to get the screen sharing of the final scores up. So yes, we had Arthur Chu, Steve Bonneman, Aria Gerson, Ben Wiles, Josh Frumkin, Colin O'Grady, Darren Harris-Fain, and Jennifer Morrow. The final scores of the tournament of panelists. You should see them on your screen right now. Arthur Chu ended up getting 35 points in the fan vote to be the champion.
Hasn't he won enough?
Hasn't he won enough? But congratulations to Arthur for winning 35 points on the fan vote, 68 in the debate portion, a convincing victory for certain. Steve Bonneman ends up second at 93 points after getting 28 on the fan vote. Aria Gerson picking up 30 from the fans to finish in a very close third place. Then Ben, Josh, Colin, Darren, and Jennifer. Congratulations, by the way, to Arthur, Steve, Aria, and everyone else who, and thanks to everyone who took part in the tournament.
You should post
Now,
that to the blog
sorry?
itself, Andy, maybe, don't you think?
Oh,
The
I
image?
definitely will. I
Okay.
will post it. I'll post the image. Don't worry, Jeanie.
Yeah, okay.
That's,
And does Arthur
polling
know that he
just
won?
closed. I have no idea. If I haven't told anybody, this was the
wow.
this was the unveiling of the results. The
Wow.
polls just closed,
Okay.
and he made a joke that he made a joke after the first round that if he won, I would have to give him my house, and I will say that that is not going to happen. I'm sorry, Arthur. I need a place to live.
Why don't you just... You don't want to live with Arthur, too?
I don't think there's room.
Why don't you just find a Monopoly set and give him a house from that?
That's
No,
not a
but at
bad
least
idea.
give him the hotel. At least give him the hotel if you're going to give him something from the Monopoly set.
Yeah, I would go for that. I think I could go for that. I will probably dig out the Monopoly
Since
set
it's
I have.
probably more readily available, spell out house in Scrabble tiles and send that to him.
Yes, even better.
That is more Andy.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys obviously were here to talk about this past week in Jeopardy, and both Gordon and Natalie, you guys were both on Monday's show.
Mm-hmm.
So first off, I guess my questions to Gordon. You obviously saw Natalie the week before, and she was obviously the returning champion. What was it? How did it feel overnight between tapings for you, knowing that you were likely going to be facing Natalie?
I wasn't too intimidated. It was more just anticipation of actually getting on and getting my shot. The week, the Thursday and Friday episodes, those were categories that would have favored me. Like I probably would have had, doing Coriates, I probably would have had 40 right in a lot of those shows. So come Monday, those categories weren't necessarily in my wheelhouse. So I was a little bit off-put there, but she is really quick on the buzzer. There's no denying that. There's a lot of times where I was just going on stretches of 3, 4, 5 questions where I just couldn't get in. She was just jumping the gun and had me beat. So I don't think there's any intimidation or any apprehension. It was just a case where she was just quicker on the button than I was, and I had to really make a charge and double to even get close.
Mm-hmm. Now, how did you generally feel about the buzzer, Natalie?
I don't know. It was kind of awkward, honestly, to hold. Like it's not one of those things where like a pen, how it like clicks and like you feel really good like when you press it. I didn't like the buzzer all that much. Like it just didn't have like a satisfying clicky type feel to it.
Okay. Now, but I mean, obviously, your opponents were saying that you were very strong on the buzzer. Did you have?
Yeah.
What would you say your secret was? Did you wait for the lights? Did you time it off Alex's voice?
I more went with the how Alex was talking than the lights, because I found if I waited for the lights, I was behind.
Okay.
So I kind of tried to time it with the words instead.
So, I tend to ask this a lot of people. So just for some more, I guess for some more data points, I know Arthur Chu waited for the lights, but that was that he played a lot of video games, and his timing and hand-eye coordination is much stronger. Did you do much? Did you ever do much gaming?
Not really. I mean, I played Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, but that was about it. No, I'm not much of a gamer.
So again, for those of you who are listening, and maybe if you're still waiting for your shot, I guess once again we have more data on if you, I guess the best way of putting it is, if you've done a lot of gaming and you think your reaction time is strong, then I would say best bet maybe wait for the lights. Otherwise, timing off Alex's voice. Jason, what do you think about that?
No, I'm trying to think of what I did, and I think it kind of changed for me depending on the situation. I'm trying to think. I do think that sometimes I went off the lights. I do think that sometimes I went off of Alex's voice. And actually, I was fortunate enough to get to play a Guerrilla Jeopardy tournament a couple of months ago, and I definitely was trying to go off of the moderator's voice in that situation. We had Mike Dupé's set up, and we had buzzers, and I was definitely there were two people hosting, and definitely one of the hosts I was really in on the timing. The other one not as much, but it was definitely off of voice and not off of the lights. But it's the sort of thing that as a tutor, I definitely tell students, well, go with what suits your style a lot. And so that's where I sort of stand on the issue. I don't think there's one right way to do it. Different ways are going to work for different people.
And there is a human factor too. There is somebody waiting for Alex to finish the clue before they kill the lockout. And even watching from clue to clue, that human factor would play in. Sometimes it would come simultaneously as Alex reading the final word of the clue. Sometimes there'd be like a half-second pause. So it's just getting into a rhythm, because that person too, they're probably looking to get into a rhythm.
And one thing that I noticed in my own games, and one thing that I've also noticed when I have had opportunities to watch, which haven't been as many lately, but one thing that I've noticed is that the defending champion does have an advantage in that sense, because they're in the rhythm. A lot of times, actually, my second show, I was, I think, in on the first 9 clues correctly, because either my opponents did not know the responses, or the ones who did not have the timing down.
In rehearsals, oh, sorry, go ahead.
And so I was going to say that I was actually, because also a lot of people actually, as everyone was saying about Natalie, that that her opponents were saying that she was really great on the buzzer, and she didn't think so. I didn't think so about my own buzzer skills either, and that's also from playing Quiz Bowl and not really thinking that my buzzer skills were all that great. And all of a sudden, people after the show were like, "Yeah, it was the buzzer," and I'm just like, "Well, I didn't feel that way," but a lot of that was surprising.
And in rehearsal, it's a different person working the lockout, and it's a different person reading the clues too.
Yeah.
So Natalie has the advantage, or whoever the defending champion has the advantage of, getting the cadence down with Alex and with whoever's working the lockout, as opposed to in rehearsals where it's Glenn and whoever happens to be at that spot on the table.
Yeah.
But I do remember that they did make sure that that they had more buzzer practice for the people doing Ken's.
The last rehearsal that I did,
maybe he might have an advantage.
the last rehearsal that I did, I answered 1 clue correctly and was told to sit down.
Okay, this guy's too good.
and actually though, it was very happy. It was a SpongeBob clue. I was very happy about that, and then I got to sit down.
Come on, everybody's supposed to jump in.
Who lives in a pineapple under the sea?
Oh, I didn't.
SquarePants.
So, David, how about Dustin Bufflin?
I think, Andy, I think that's your cue.
I think that's my cue to stop talking about Winnipeg. Yeah, so...
Yeah, we are going to fill the dead air with Winnipeg if you don't pop up.
So, Natalie, actually my next question is for you. And did you, you did very well on the daily doubles. I think in your first few games you were at least 4 for 5, if not better. And did you think that was a strong point of yours going in, or did you, or was it just a happy circumstance?
It was more of a happy circumstance. Like, I never put too much weight into things you have to like bet on. That's why, and my goal going in was just to get enough money that Final Jeopardy didn't mean anything because it's such a crapshoot. You know, like with my daily doubles, I tried not to bet too much if I didn't have to, just because like it may be a strong category, but you know it's such a crapshoot, and I hate guessing. That was one of the big things. If I didn't know the answer, I probably didn't ring in. So it's just like where I'm just like I have to answer. I tried not to make those mean as much. Like, I think the only one I bet a lot on was that one, that last one against Gordon, when like I tried to get runaway. I think that was the only one where I bet more than a couple thousand, more than 1,000. I don't know. It's all kind of a blur, honestly.
Yeah.
And it was, what, about 2 months ago already, eh?
About a month ago. It was the
okay.
25th and 26th of August. So pretty much just a month.
Yeah. Now, I guess for the both of you, but I'm going to do This Week in Jeopardy history in just a little bit. But I do want to ask both Natalie and Gordon, again, it's a regular thing I tend to ask, kind of your journey to the show. Like, when did you guys both audition?
Well, this is my second time auditioning. So,
okay.
So previously, 2 years ago, I auditioned in San Antonio.
Okay.
And I didn't get the call. And I knew what my issue was. I was too nervous. I was too uptight. And when Maggie asks you, "Are you having fun?" that's typically a bad thing. So,
yes, you personally, not the whole crowd.
So second time around was in Kansas City, and that was mine was on the 30th of June. Same day as David, actually.
Was it the same? Were you in the same group?
No, I was in the afternoon group.
Okay.
I think David was.
Hopefully the same result one of these days.
Yeah, we keep on crossing paths. And and then it was less than 3 weeks later. I got the call. I was sitting at work, and I got the call from Karina, and I was giddy like a little girl.
So, what about your journey to the show, Natalie?
Well, it was my second time trying out too. The first time I tried out was 4 years ago. So I was 19. Like, I had no idea how to be on TV. I was not as mature as I am now. I was basically an immature teenager. Yeah. So that's probably why they didn't call me. And that was in Kansas City. And this past time was actually June 30th in Kansas City too. I think I was at 11 a.m. was my tryout. And yeah, same thing. Just got the call a couple weeks later.
Wow.
Kind of screamed in my driveway.
You were in town the same time as me, David, and Andy then.
Yeah.
We all went to Kansas City at the same time. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. They like Kansas City, I guess.
I hope so. Hint, hint, hint.
Hint, yes.
Yes, Andy. Hint, hint, Andy.
Oh.
Yeah, I auditioned July 1st in Kansas City, so we'll
What time was your audition, David?
My audition was 9 a.m. I was the first group.
Oh, maybe you guys saw each other even. You and Natalie.
I know that when I was leaving and I did see the 11 o'clock people come in, I might have seen Natalie then, but I mean, I can't even remember what half of the people in my own group looked like.
Yeah, I came in like I want to say 10:50 or 10:55. I was almost late, and what sucked was like I had like just driven from Lincoln. And it took so long with the construction. I don't know if you remember it all, but there was construction.
I definitely remember the construction, and I had the same thing. I've mentioned this story on the panel before, but I was just about 5 minutes before as well. I got there, the audition was for 9, and I figured, okay, one leave early. We left at, I think it was 8 o'clock, correct?
Yeah.
8 o'clock in the morning. And we got there at 8:20, and I get there and I realize, oh no, I left my wallet back at the place we're staying. So we went back to the place we're staying, got my wallet, got there at about 8:50. I was like, I have no idea where we are. Go to the front desk. Quick, where's the Jeopardy auditions? Up that way. Get up there, 8:55. Maggie's taking pictures in, and I get my picture taken. I didn't really smile as well as I could have, but yeah, I was
See, I got there about 35 minutes early, and the room was already half full.
Oh wow!
So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to sit in this hot room with a bunch of other nerds. So I went down to the hotel bar.
Sorry, like I parked in the road.
Oh, can you hear me? Did I lose everybody?
Yeah. No, you're still. I still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Natalie having connectivity issues, I think.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I got there 35 minutes early, and the place was half full.
Am I?
And people are just sitting there. You're cutting in and out, Nat.
Oh. Let me.
Here we go. Come on.
Let me go downstairs.
Okay, we're good. We hear you now.
You're good now.
Okay, so I don't need to leave. So my internet's kind of iffy up in my room.
The audio's jumpy, but you're.
I can just go in my basement. It's not a huge deal if you don't mind watching the computer move.
That's fine.
I'm used to this.
Are you gonna see my messy house?
Gordon can finish his story while you move.
Yeah. So, I got there and the place is half full. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to a hotel bar and, again, going into the whole process of making sure I'm relaxing and not too uptight. Went down to Pine and Boulevard and waited till about 5 minutes too. Then I got back in. I was like the last person in the room. Sat down in the front row and got through it.
Oh wow.
Is that better?
So
much better.
Much better. So maybe I should have had a beer before that. That might have taken the edge off of it. But
yeah, dude, I swear, like people in the green room were like popping Xanax. I'm not kidding.
And my Xanax happened to be just a little bit larger and frosted. It came from a company.
As long as it's legal, who cares?
Yeah.
They're going to start testing for performance-enhancing drugs on the show.
Are you serious?
No. I'm just
Natalie looked worried there for a minute.
I mean, I don't care. I'm not going back on the show. I don't care.
Natalie gets a letter from Sony saying she's there's a 6-month suspension.
Yeah.
My story, like, I don't know if you guys heard it, but, like, I managed to drop my paperwork in a toilet. Like, it was clean. It was before I used it. So I had to go up to Maggie. I was like, it's, like, soaking wet. I was like, I just dropped this in the toilet. I just ran in. I'm like, I just dropped this. I don't know what to do. Then I had to refill it all out.
Yeah.
And, like, come up with those 5 stories again. I don't know about you guys, but I hated coming up with those stories. Like, the most interesting thing about people on Jeopardy is that they're on Jeopardy.
Yeah, a little bit. It's actually funny because well before I started auditioning, my mom and I would bond over it. My mom would always complain about how a lot of the interesting facts that the contestants come up with aren't really that interesting.
I know, they're terrible.
Something that the show could do away with.
There's a whole Twitter account dedicated to it. Stories. There's a whole Twitter account dedicated to it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
There's more than one I've seen.
I was gonna say that was probably the thing that I'm sure. Did either of you dread that part the most of the whole Jeopardy experience?
I mean, I figure most people fast forward through it anyway, so I didn't really care.
Yeah.
Like, it's not going to help you or hurt you in the game, so who cares, right?
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I've done enough stupid things in my life where there's plenty of stuff for me now to talk about.
Yeah, when I had to write down the 5 stories, I mean, I've done enough of those Facebook memes where it said list 25 things about yourself. I had no problem doing those, so I was easily able to pick 5 on there. My pet peeve was when it came time for my mock game, and Glenn asked me to talk about myself, he didn't go with any of the 5 things on there. He said, so just tell me about yourself. I'm thinking, great, I have some of the 5 best material on there, and you're just going, so tell me about yourself. Why are you talking about one of those 5 there, Glenny boy?
When I got the call, what happened was that instead of going on script, Maggie just said, whoa, you know a lot of people who've been on Jeopardy.
Did that, Andy?
See,
Yeah, I got that too.
see,
How
my
many names
problem
do
is,
you have on your paper, Andy?
Pardon me, how many names?
Yeah, how many names?
Over 200.
I had 76 on mine, and I thought I had a lot until I heard about
bring
Andy.
in a list because I started writing people down, and then I was like, there are probably a bunch more who I know who I just cannot think of at the moment and who I don't really do that much. So
I had one. One person from last season who I talked to on Facebook, and that was it. That's before I met you freaks, though. So
Yeah, no, I'm thinking this is probably close to 100 by now, but hopefully I don't.
Natalie, I guess I'm going to ask you, how many people before you went on your paperwork, how many people did you say you knew that had been on Jeopardy?
No one.
Okay.
I've never really been to the Jeopardy community till I was on, really.
Yeah.
Like it was just something I watched with my mom every day. I didn't really get into it online too terribly much until like my episodes aired and I was on Twitter. I was like, what are people saying about me? Because I'm that creepy. And then I'd like reply to people's
narcissists once they get on. They're saying, "Oh, I gotta hear what people are saying about me."
I know. And then I was that creeper. I actually replied. Like a lot of things I got was about like that can't be her name. Her name is not Natalie Lips. Like that's not a name. And I'd be like, yes, it is. So yeah, that's the only so like I never knew anyone on Jeopardy before I tried out.
Okay.
So getting back to the stories, one of the things that really cut me down my first time auditioning is, I had my bullet points. Like David, I had some interesting things going there. So Maggie turns around and asks me about my job, and my job is to explain it is excruciatingly boring.
One of those.
Yeah, I work for a mortgage company, and I handle like government compliance projects. So like you can't make that sexy, no matter how hard you try. So this time around, I even had kind of a fallback in case Alex went off script or Maggie went off script or anybody went off script and asked me. I was going to give Indiana Jones's job description. Well, I travel to all these exotic places and find artifacts from ancient civilizations. And I take them back to my university, study them. And
oh man, I can see why you got the call.
So thankfully, I didn't ask that because then the response after that, if he mentioned Indiana Jones, would be to go into a Sean Connery impersonation. Dog, Indiana. So, in other words, I overthought everything.
So I think it's a good point for me to do the This Week in Jeopardy History segment. So I guess you guys get to listen to me yammer for a couple of minutes. But this week in Jeopardy history, I'm going to go back to 2004. Normally when I go back to 2004, I'm talking about Ken Jennings, but not this time. In fact, the Tournament of Champions aired about this time in 2004, end of September. Bit of a strange time they picked to air it, but that was because the show was worried that the writers were going to go on strike in 2004. They eventually did not, but the strike deadline was April 30th, and so they had to get a whole bunch of extra episodes into the can by the end of April. And so what they did, they actually taped the first month of season 21 in April, including the Tournament of Champions. And they had Russ Schumacher obviously ended up winning. He was on our, of course, Tournament of Panelists a while back. But basically, The other part I found actually amusing from some of the stories from the 2004 tournament was when they got the invitations. When the contestants got the invitations read, if our current champion loses in the next 10 games, he'll be in the tournament. And the general reaction was, if he loses? This was before any of Ken's games started airing. And apparently, this was the first time any of these people had been introduced to the aura of Ken Jennings. Because I believe at that point he had won 48 games, and everyone was obviously still completely in awe over what he was doing on the show. But I think obviously the next tournament is coming up in a couple of months from what we've heard. Obviously, you were hoping to win a fourth game, so you could hopefully make the field. Natalie, how was that on your mind at all as you went into the fourth game, or?
Yeah, it was. I knew that I was in the running after I'd won 3, and I was hoping, to win hopefully at least 4 or 5. But man, 2008 just snuck up on me.
Do you think you would have gotten it had you should you go through your thought process on the final? Like, did you start which way did you start?
I started with 56 and I went forward, and then I just kind of tried to run through, and then I stopped at 2000. I was like, okay, there's no way it's past 2000.
Oh.
Yeah. But in my defense, it seems like everyone else did that too. So, I mean, no one else got it right. It was still hard, though. After they announced it, it was and what was harder is if I had bet 0, I still would have won. That's what's harder to me. That, I still could have won, but I had to bet everything. Man.
What do you mean? I'm just curious. What do you mean by had to bet everything on that?
No, had I bet nothing.
But no. Oh, okay. But no, it wasn't like you didn't. You just had to. It was more of a mistake from what you were saying then, not you felt forced.
I mean, it was more I was whatever, because I was a history minor in college. I figure I know presidential elections, especially if it's about candidates, and it never occurred to me that it would be 2008.
Yeah.
So that's why I bet it all. I figured go big or go home, and I went home. So.
Yeah.
So, I should ask, how did the rest of you guys do on that final?
Well, I remember hearing that same statistic during the 2008 campaign, so that's why it stuck in my head. As soon as I saw the claw, I started going forward, and then I thought, wait a minute, I know that fact. I heard it during Obama's first campaign. I managed to get it wrong because I thought that Obama was first elected in 2004, not 2008. But still, I was in the right ballpark.
Canadian.
So
did you get it right, Andy?
I did.
There you go. Don't blame my nationality. Just blame my fingerprint.
No, I got it wrong. I did the same thing. I started from 56 and started working my way forward. Then, as the timer started running out, I panicked. I'm like, 76, knowing it was wrong.
I was
knowing
I knew.
Ford was up for re-election. And
Yeah.
Jason?
I only just looked at it on JArchive, but I was like, yeah, I hate year questions, but I actually did come up with it. Yeah, I see. I really think your questions are one thing. Elections are kind of an exception, but your questions I just am not fond of.
That's fair. You're also not fond of questions about rock drummers, but
yeah, we had to get that in, didn't we?
Of course, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I would say my own thought process on that final when I played it was basically start at 2012 and work backwards, because it seems like that seems to be the way to go about that. Jeopardy seems to ask questions from my experience that mean, or where they assume they assume people start and go forward, and that makes it harder because the way to I guess the best way to go about these maybe would be to start in the other direction. I apologize if I'm having trouble getting my thoughts together properly. I kind of had a bit of a frazzled afternoon, but yeah.
I didn't get that final right for what that's for.
Okay.
Yeah, I know you already know, Andy, but for the sake of everybody else.
Yeah.
For the sake of how people did on final, I'm curious. I didn't get Thursdays.
What was Thursday?
That was Thursdays was the
Was it that was that one, wasn't it? Yeah, that one. The
Which one?
the French phrase.
Oh, the cordon bleu.
Yeah, I know that.
Yeah.
I didn't see that episode then.
No.
I fully
I'll
expect
look
that French
at it
phrase
now.
one to appear in the list that Mark Barrett has of toughest death chase in this quarter. I fully expect that one to appear on the J board.
Yeah, I got that one, but only after about 27 seconds of rumination and going through every single French phrase I knew that had anything to do with, fine dining or cuisine. And I hit upon sacre bleu, just trying to rack my brain, and then the bleu connected me to cordon bleu, and then, with 3 seconds left, I figured it out.
You wouldn't have been able to write it down in those 3 seconds.
Yeah.
No, I even tested myself. I could write it down in 3 seconds.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's my threshold. If I can write it down in the time.
All I
I
could
would
think
have
of
gotten
is
it.
I made a last second audible in one of my games. You can if you can get it down in 3 seconds, you can get it down in 3 seconds on the light pen.
Now Jeanie wanted to say something, so.
Oh, just that I wouldn't have gotten it right. I'm looking at our archive now,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't have gotten it.
Yeah, that was a toughie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. My next question, I guess, is for Gordon. Your disfactoids that you posted on Monday before your episode, I thought were very popular.
Thank you.
And I don't know if you noticed, but I definitely used that as an inspiration for one of the Tournament of Panelists finals questions on Thursday. So
I didn't get through the whole episode, so I'm honored. What was the question you used?
basically, I said to the panel, come up with your own disfactoid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to do something fun on Twitter leading up to the episode, and I couldn't figure out what it was at first, but I wanted to do something kind of, through the course of the day. My workplace generally frowns on tweeting during work, but I had enough of them kind of written in my head, so I could go ahead and dash one off with my thumb and get back to what I was doing. And the further I got into it, the more I thought of. And I know some of them were good and some of them were kind of, but it was, I don't know, it helped, keep my enthusiasm up leading into the episode and get a few of my nerves out of the way, because some friends of mine had planned a watch party, and I don't know, I'm not the kind of person who wants to be like the big center of attention amongst my friends. Being a jerk online and doing that's fine by me. But when it actually comes to my personal relationships, I'd rather kind of be, I don't know, not necessarily in the center of things, but support my friends and be on the periphery. I'm not big on having parties in my honor, for instance. But this was, I thought it was a cool way to engage people.
I thought so too. Do you think you'd do it again at some point?
What, the disfactoids, or
Yeah,
go on TV and make a jackass of myself?
Well, actually, I was thinking more of the disfactoids, but.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I mind a lot of the potential humor there, but I'm sure with a little bit of time to prepare, I could come up with a bunch more. It's always fun making fun of celebrities like Alex and Johnny Gilbert and some of the other ones who managed to get in there, like Pitbull and Roger Lodge.
I'm sure it helped. It helped spark interest, and people say, "Oh yeah, I want to watch the show now." So I'm sure Jeopardy always encourages something that gets people to be interested and watch the show.
Out of all of them, I thought my favorite little nuance out of all the Disfactoids was Latin Jeopardy had the inverted exclamation point in front of it.
That one.
I don't know how many people caught that, but I figure, you know, if we're gonna go for some subtle humor as well as some of the, you know, overt stupidity.
So, I guess my next question for the panel, after seeing Friday's episode, obviously you could say Dylan, his luck ran out a bit. I mean, three wins and another $30,000, and then of course, you know, Matt goes and gets a lock game on Friday. I guess, I mean, anytime somebody gets a lock first time out, I guess puts people on notice a bit. But what would you guys say his chances might be of making the Tournament of Champions? I know if Darren Harris Payne is watching on the bubble, I'm sure he's thinking, lose early. But,
well, I think people were saying on the boards that he's a well-known Quiz Bowl contestant, so it's obvious that he's sharp and he's quick on the buzzer. And it's, you know, but it's all comes down to the categories. Like, you can have a good breadth of knowledge, and then you can just get, you know, 3 or 4 categories that completely throw you off, and that can decide it. Like, there's so much of it, you know, rests on that you know, it's tough to say. But judging from how well he did and how much he dominated Double Jeopardy on Friday, I think he has a decent chance.
Yeah, I'm with Gordon. With Jeopardy, it's such a crapshoot with the categories. You know, they could be good and you'll win a lot, or you could know nothing about them and you lose. So a lot of it's luck.
Yeah. It also, I mean, we don't know, or I guess maybe we do know and I just haven't seen. You know, it's also a little bit about who you draw.
Right.
Because even one thing that I said was that I actually, in one of my games, that it was a Friday game, the contestants left. I thought that one of the contestants would have given me a real problem, and that contestant ended up not being chosen, ended up actually just falling short of qualifying for the Tournament of Champions my season. So so that could also be, you know, I mean, there could be someone on Monday who does fantastically. You know, it's really a coin flip. And also going off of one game can sometimes be deceptive, because there have been a lot of big champions who have, or maybe not a lot, but there have been a couple of champions who have won their first game being in 3rd place or being in 2nd place. So just because there's a lock doesn't mean anything.
And I think
also just the J Archive, at least one thing that at least for me, just seeing 0 in the South American capitals, I don't know, that's maybe a little flag for me.
Like with Dylan, with his run, like, you know, one of my favorite episodes so far of the whole season was when after he won and the camera came in for a close-up on him, he looked completely astounded that he had won. If somebody could screen cap that, you know, he just had this blank look, you know, of complete incomprehension that he is a 3-time champion, because 2 of those days were, you know, triple stumper finals. Gesundheit.
I guess, well, I mean, I don't think they Zerg-cammed any of them, but still, yes, that, yeah, I guess you could say he probably did get lucky in a couple of spots, and
I mean,
no, I mean,
maybe I'm biased, but I think he got lucky in a lot of his games, right? Like, because if I hadn't bet what I did, I would have won. You know, I don't think he won them. I think other people lost them personally. A lot of the games that he won.
Yeah.
But again, maybe I'm biased.
Well, no, just looking at his face on Thursday,
Yeah.
seems to validate that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not saying he was a bad player by any means. Just to be in the contention and be competitive at the when it comes to Final Jeopardy, I think he benefited from just the fact that he just wagered conservatively and happened to get tough Final Jeopardy questions.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So I'm at the point of the panel now where I'm going to ask if any panelist has any questions for any other panelist right now. And feel free, the floor is open.
I had a question for Natalie, actually. Earlier you were mentioning...
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Earlier, you were mentioning something.
Yeah.
That's him and not.
They had like the real buzzers there, or at least they say it was the real buzzers there. Did you find that the buzzers on studio was the same as what you actually had at Culver City, or what you had at your audition? Sorry, and if so, did you not like the buzzers that you had at your audition either?
I think the ones at the audition were a little easier to press because I think they were a bit smaller and easier for me to just hold.
So they lied to us? It wasn't the real buzzers?
No, I don't think so. Just because I don't remember hating the buzzers at my audition, but I honestly don't remember.
During my audition, they were definitely, I'm jumping in, but they were definitely not the same as that. They definitely have a portable. They definitely have something that they're not going to drag those podia all across the country.
But I remember I really liked the buzzers in my audition. I'm thinking, if this is what they're like at the studio, I'm golden, because I really got the hang of these, and I just started using these.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one for whom the day of their Jeopardy audition is a complete and utter blur. So,
see, I had the benefit of my Kansas City audition had a writer from the Kansas City Star embedded in our group. So so all of my audition was kind of recounted in a pair of stories in the Kansas City Star, and there are pictures that ran in the newspaper, so I can go back and look. Oh, I remember him. I remember her. Oh, she was good in our test.
Yeah, I saw the video on the Kansas City Star site about that. So I guess maybe I'll look at the video, see if I can find you in there.
Actually, I don't know if you can see me in the video, but if you look at the print article and one of the pictures where they're doing the mock game, you can see my smiling face in the background.
Oh. Yeah, I don't remember any of the people in my audition. I'm just going to be looking for the next several months, and if anybody has a hometown from the Midwest, anywhere in the Midwest, I'm going to be looking, did I audition with him? I don't know.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. In my case, somebody had the presence of mind to be like, let's take a group picture. So,
yeah, what had that presence of mind?
I don't know. Somebody had that presence of mind. It wasn't me, but
I thought it was you.
No, it wasn't me. It was somebody else who had the presence of mind to do that.
Okay.
And so there's a group picture of my audition group, which basically every time I see contestants, it'll be like, okay, let's.
Yeah.
So does anyone else? Yeah,
I'm looking at the print article right now, and I can see you, Gordon, in your red shirt.
Yep, I'm smiling away. I had to keep on reminding myself, even when I wasn't, directly involved. If I wasn't Maggie wasn't talking to me, or if I wasn't in the mock game, try to project, TV friendliness, to smile and clap and cheer on everybody else. And, and then twerking with with Maggie helped too. If you read the article from the Kansas City Star, they make mention of a 30-something man who attempted to twerk with Maggie. That was me.
What?
Yes. So they had.
Why wasn't that your story?
Well, 'cause I think they wouldn't use that because that may show some impropriety with the contestant people. So, but what it was is they had the 40 people in the larger contestant room, and then they split us in half and took half the people to an adjacent room. So Maggie and Karina led us to the second room, the people on my side of the room, and it turned into a conga line. But Maggie looked, and everybody was kind of morose and just shuffling their feet. So she wanted everybody to start dancing. So I took the bit, and I started dancing with her. So everybody was taking their seats, and me and her had a little dance party in the aisle in between the seats, and eventually she wound up grinding on me a little bit. So.
I know you auditioned at 2 o'clock or something, and I auditioned at 9 o'clock. But my group, I got picked with the Glenn and Corinna group. So I wasn't in Maggie's group, but we were always making fun of the Maggie group because they were so loud and rambunctious, and we could hear them clearly in our room.
Yes,
that was probably what they were doing at that point.
Yeah, I know Maggie.
Putting drive through, like, hey, what are they doing over there, anyways?
Yeah, Maggie certainly left an impression on my audition 2 years ago, so I resolved to be more Maggie.
Yes.
This time around. And it definitely worked in my favor. So I know that one person was on the boards was commenting about their upcoming audition, and I said, hey, just let it go. Be personable. Show enthusiasm. That's what they're looking for. They want smart people, but even getting to that point means that you've shown that you're good at trivia.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to demonstrate, that TV friendliness, that something that's going to give people on Twitter and the J boards something to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Called the Jennifer Morrow factor.
Yeah.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah.
I say that lovingly. I'm pro Jennifer's dancing and drumsticks and all the antics. I love that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, even with Arthur too, people were talking about him. They didn't like him, but they were still talking about it.
I thought Arthur was badass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, me personally, I did not enjoy watching his games just because I hate that style of play. But again,
any publicity is good publicity.
Not for me.
Any publicity is good publicity. If you're generating publicity for Jeopardy,
Heard Ferguson.
I know, dude.
You can actually hear me laughing in the audio clip.
Really?
You can hear somebody guffaw right after Alex reads the answer. That's me in the audience.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who found that funny.
No. When we were at the hotel, I was with Tina and Audrey at the hotel, and then you came by a little bit, Natalie.
It was my mom, but.
Well, you were there. You came by with the stroller. And we said hi. But one of the first things I said is that's gonna go big. I knew because I saw that it was gonna be bigger than anything I could do. I'm just happy
now that I think about it, they've been having a lot more of those viral moments in the past, say, year and a half than they have had before. I think Jeopardy is really latching onto the social media thing, and that's good. That's good. I'm glad that they're recognizing that. I'm glad that they want to get the publicity through that. There's been a lot more time that Jeopardy's trended on Facebook, a lot more time that people have been mentioning it, talking about it, saying, oh, I don't like this. Oh, wow, did you watch this? And they're really hitching onto this viral media thing, and it's working out good for them.
Yeah. Well, some comments that I want to, sorry, 1 second. Some comments I actually want to add on the hashtag because I'm just looking at it. In terms of the buzzer, going back to the buzzer thing, according to Ben Wiles, they give you the real buzzers for practice/auditions. Jeopardy buzzers must be earned. Considering the source, I'm not quite sure if I want to say anything. But also from Ben, if Matt gets home field advantage, quote unquote, on the buzzer, like Ken Jennings after his second time, he could be there a while because, again, he's very good. And as to luck, this one's from Matt Carberry, a lot of people expected a big run from Scott Blish based on his performances in Learned League, and that didn't pan out. Of course, if you didn't know, Scott was the 2015 Learned League champion. So,
Yeah.
and of course, it didn't pan out for him on Jeopardy. So, it's a very, very, very fickle beast. And even Mark Dawson, the story he relayed on recently regarding his first game, the difference between, him not winning a game and winning the Tournament of Champions and going to the Battle of the Decades was the fact that the person in the lead in his first game botched their wager. And
benefited from a couple of math errors there, didn't he?
well, the first game was a what the leader didn't bet enough. Brian misread a number in his notes and made a math error.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mark is probably one of the luckier people in the history of the show in terms of getting some results. So does anyone have any other questions or anything else they'd like to add? I know I cut you off, Gord, so.
That's okay. It happens.
I was gonna throw in the Ben Ingram, and I don't have the Ben Ingram voice down, but what did y'all have for lunch?
Oh yes. What did you guys have for lunch?
What did y'all have for lunch?
Yeah.
See, and this kind of I think may have helped out Natalie because on lunch on the Tuesday tapings, Audrey had turkey sandwich. So I think her poor performance in that Wednesday game, Natalie's dominance notwithstanding, part of Audrey's problem was the tryptophan / adrenaline rush combination. She had the adrenaline crashed over the lunch break, and then she had the turkey sandwich, and she was pretty much dead in the water the whole game. That day I had corned beef. I had corned beef on marble rye with jalapenos.
How do you remember that? I just remember it was a sandwich.
What you had for lunch during your taping?
I think I had a ham sandwich, maybe. It might have been turkey. I literally have no idea.
This is what everybody wants to know.
Why? It's food.
They will ask you, first thing out of their mouth, what did you have for lunch? That's why he knew to remember what he had for lunch.
And then on Wednesday, I lost the first game, so I was I was out of the studio by 11:30.
Yeah.
So I went back to the hotel, got changed, and then right down the street from the DoubleTree is Dinah's famous fried chicken.
Yes.
And they've shot a lot of movies there. They've shot scenes from The Big Lebowski there. They shot part of Nightcrawler there. So I figured, okay, well, this is probably going to be the closest I get to a movie set, aside from being on the Sony Picture Studios. So I went there and I had fried chicken at Dinah's.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I remember food.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, just one thing as someone from the New York area and someone who is a bit of a connoisseur of the New York Jewish deli, no jalapenos with corned beef. That's just wrong. Sorry.
It's kosher though.
It's kosher. It's still very wrong.
I'm with Jason on this one.
It must be that Tex-Mex thing.
Yeah, I lived in Texas for 14 years. I've learned to embrace the jalapenos. So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have our first comment on the tournament of panelists. Results from on the radio. What's more irritating, the Dolphins going belly up or Arthur chewing up the competition in the Jeopardy Live panel, TOC? He's won enough. And, you know what? Arthur was dominant. He definitely deserved his victory, and I think also Steve and Aria can take, their second and third place finishes should be considered, well earned, and I could almost say that they would be best of the rest. So
I have a response for that too. When it comes down to the Dolphins going belly up, you can blame part of that on Ndamukong Suh. So really, it's a question of Chu and Sue.
What? Didn't they play the Bills?
No. The big NFL story about the Dolphins this past week is Ndamukong Suh is not taking. He's not listening to his
Natalie and I are from Lincoln, so
Yeah, he
got
plays.
it, and honestly,
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but Sue plays for the Lions, right?
no, he doesn't not anymore.
not anymore.
Oh. Last time I heard, he played for the Lions.
Mm-hmm.
No,
He used
the
to.
Dolphins lost last week, and the coaches were pinning it on Sue because he wasn't, handling his defensive assignments. So either way, given the choice between Chu and Sue, I vote for Chu. In a positive way.
He's much less likely to break your leg.
Or
Yes.
or punch me in the groin.
Yes.
I guess I want to. I haven't checked out the tournament of panelists, and that maybe it's. I think it would be interesting just to go watch it, and I guess if anyone else hasn't watched it, I'd definitely like to witness what went on. I'd jokingly say that,
Jason.
what? I didn't know what my scheduling. It was kind of a bad timing, especially because I've been dealing with a lot of students with SATs and ACTs, and been having crazy hours.
We were missed.
Oh yes, regarding football, I was just saying that I've got the Mets and let's see, it's approximately 3 weeks to the ISU Grand Prix of figure skating. So, yeah, whatever about football.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, come on, Canadians, right? ISU Grand Prix of figure skating, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I can appreciate that.
Even though Grand Prix on ice, so yes.
Even though I'm wearing a Diamondbacks hat, the team I generally cheer for has won 90 games for the first time since I was 10 years old. So.
You were 10 years old? Oh my goodness, I'm feeling old now.
And my Texas Rangers are in first place and likely headed for a playoff spot. So.
And the way it's going, you guys will probably be playing against Kansas City in the first round.
That's how it looks. Or Minnesota, depending on how the wild card stacks up.
Yeah. No, Kansas, as in the Blue Jays, are going to take over first in the AL by the end of the season. That's my prediction. Because that will make it a lot less awkward for the two of us. Because if it's Toronto and Texas, we're probably not going to be friends for a week.
Even when I lived in Canada, I hated the Blue Jays. I was a Mariners fan when I lived in Winnipeg.
Because they're from Toronto, and who in Canada likes Toronto except
Torontonians?
I think Toronto has its terms, but I'm not I'm not a native Canadian.
Yeah.
Toronto terms, the center of the universe.
I vacationed in Toronto a couple times when I was a kid. My dad actually sent me a picture of us at the Hockey Hall of Fame after I apparently missed a hockey question on my Tuesday game. He's like, "How did you get that wrong? I took you from the Hockey Hall of Fame." It was like one of those rocket questions.
I'm like, Dad, I was 10.
Pretty much. I think I was 9. Maybe 8 even, but yeah, I was pretty young. And I grew up a Penguins fan, so unless it's a Penguin, I didn't care.
That's fair. But I should say as well, or ask if anyone else has any more questions at this point. No Winnipeg. No Winnipeg. No Winnipeg. No Winnipeg. See, I'm trying to fill the awkward silence so that you're not interjecting with Winnipeg stuff. So
it's like we're Jeopardy people. We're just waiting for the buzzer to sound. That's all.
So, to that end, I'd like to thank our panel tonight for taking part on on tonight's Jeopardy live panel, as well as the people who tuned in, also not only live, but also tuning in on YouTube a little bit later on. I think we're losing panelists left, right, and center here before I'm really logging off, but oh, okay, people are coming back in. There we go. Okay, not quite done yet, but I'd like to thank everyone for taking part, and tune in next time for it should be. My guess will probably be sometime around next Sunday. Not quite sure yet. We haven't quite picked a time, but you'll hear about it on thejeopardyfan.com when we do. So for Jeanie and all the other panelists, thank you guys for joining us. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me get the...
Thank you as always, Andy, and I'm going to go have my turkey sandwich.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, thanks again for joining us, and have a great night.
I am